We are not in control or out of control, or even worse, controlled by external circumstances. Now, what psychologists call this is the locus or place of control. So they ask you, where do you feel the control lies in your life? Are you in charge of your life? Or is it your boss? Is it your bills? Is it your health? Is it your family? It's your situation that's controlling you. To the degree to which you feel you are in control, you're in command of your life, you feel happy, you feel powerful, you have high self-esteem, you have more energy, you have a stronger immune system, and so on. Now, the reason I mention this is that each of us has areas of our lives where we feel totally in control. Have you ever gone home from a holiday, like you go home from this vacation, you walk in the door of your own place, you walk in the door, and you feel a great sense of relief. Why? It's because you're totally in control in your own environment. You're no longer on planes and trains and automobiles and everything else. You walk home and you're in control. So you have to ask yourself, where are the stress points in your life? And the stress points are points where you feel that you're controlled by external circumstances. One of the two worst things of all is we can be in a bad relationship. And so our mental health is controlled by the behavior of another person. 85% of our problems in life, by the way, come with hair on top and talk back. You know what I'm talking about. The other 15% are material. So another source of loss of control is financial. We feel out of control financially because we owe too much, we have too little, we have too much a month at the end of the money, and so on. So you have to ask yourself, and here's what we found. We found there's always a way that you can be free. There's always a way you can retake control in your life. And the two ways are, number one is just take control, make a decision, and get on with it. And number two is to walk away. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? Everybody in life does this regularly. We either decide to get in and resolve the situation, or we decide to walk away. But either case, we feel a tremendous sense of relief because we are back in control. And it's really important. So that's the second law. And the law of control, wonderfully enough, is completely in harmony with the law of cause and effect. Because the law of control says that we control our own lives by the things that we do. The next law is what I call the law of belief. The law of belief says that whatever you believe with conviction becomes your reality. Is you don't see the world the way it is, you see the world the way you are. You see it through a screen of your own beliefs. And so we discussed this and going right back into prehistory. In the Old Testament it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. In other words, his deep beliefs. In the New Testament, it says, according to your faith, it is done unto you. What he was talking about this morning, which is so important. And William James of Harvard said, belief creates the actual fact. Because if you believe something strongly enough, you will take action on that belief. If you believe something strong enough, it becomes your reality. So imagine this. Two things. Imagine that there was a store that you could go to buy beliefs, just like a computer store where you'd buy a computer program that you could put into your hard drive. And you could buy any belief on the shelves. Which would be the very best belief for you to buy? Well, looking at the biographies and autobiographies of hundreds of successful people, we find there is one belief that all successful people have in common. And it is the belief that, by gum, I'm going to be a great success. By gum, everything that happens is part of a great process. It's like W. Clement Stone used to say that whenever anything went wrong, that's good. It's all part of a process. So when you absolutely believe that you're going to be successful, no matter what happens to you, you'll see it as part of the process. No matter how many setbacks you'll see it as part of the process of being successful. Now, if you have influence over other people, the most wonderful thing you can do is tell them that you believe that they're going to be successful. I have 4 wonderful children, and I learned this before I had my first child. So I've been practicing it on my kids, because kids are completely amenable to input when they're young. So from the time they were little, I've told them, when you grow up, you're going to be a big success. When you grow up, you're going to be a big success. I slip into the back of their computer, their mental computer, and I just program it in. You're going to be a big success. You're going to be a big success. As I got a little bit older, they said, well, how am I going to be a success, Daddy? I don't know what I'm going to do. Don't worry. Whatever you do, you'll be a big success. Well, what if it doesn't work out? I said, if it doesn't work out, that means it's something else is where you'll be a big success. And so my kids grow up, and that's all they ever hear. You're going to be a big success. Now, my son David, who was a little bit shy when he was growing up, I used to tell him how he was going to be a big success. And I remember him talking to a friend of his when he was 12. And his friend says, what are you going to do when you grow up, David? He said, well, I don't know, but I'm going to be a big success. And I said, it worked. damn, it worked. And that's really important that you tell it to yourself, that you absolutely believe that you're going to be a big success. By the way, going back just one click, with regard to locus of control, Americans have the highest locus of control per capita of any people in the history of the world. 68% of Americans believe that they are largely in control of their own lives. That is, by the way, true for probably 100% of people here. Everybody here believes that they are in charge of their own lives. They make things happen. They're not passive waiting for things to happen. They go out and make things happen. Isn't that right? Yeah. And that's really important because that is the attitude that makes it a reality. Your belief creates the actual fact. Now, here's something else that I've learned. I've learned it from Harv and from Mark and from a lot of other people, is the greatest single obstacle to our success is our self-limiting beliefs, is we believe that we're limited in some way. Our friend this morning was talking about the fact that each person is a potential genius, that you have genius inside you, that you have unlimited potential, which is what we agree, we believe passionately. But if we believe that we are limited in some way, it becomes true for us. It becomes our belief. By the way, I didn't do well in school, and before we came here, I was going to do some background checking on the people here. What I found is that there's a lot of people in this audience who didn't do well in school. Yes. So a lot of people here got lousy grades in school. I was astonished to look at the high percentage. In fact, you could be sitting next to one of them right now. Yes, we know who you are. Now here's the problem, is that if you're told, which I was, and all the time you're growing up, they say you have to get good grades or you won't do well in life. You have to get good grades or you won't get into college. You have to get good grades or you won't get a good job, won't get very well, and so on. They tell you that to encourage you to get good grades. So what if you got lousy grades for whatever reason? Well, now, you could be 25 or 35 years old, and you don't even try. You don't even try because, hey, you didn't get good grades in school, so you're kind of short of potential. And what we do is we actually sabotage ourselves. We drive with our foot on the brake of our own potential because we think, well, I didn't really get good grades in school. And then you read the studies and you find that most of the people who got straight A's work for the people who got B's. And the people who got B's work for the people who got C's who own the companies. And the people who own the companies got the money from the venture capitalists, all who got D's in school. You know, and so the grades that you got in school are irrelevant. But if you believe that because you got poor grades or because you didn't get started, you didn't go to college or something else, if you believe it becomes true for you. So the first thing you do is you have to challenge your self-limiting beliefs and realize that most self-limiting beliefs have no foundation in reality. How many times have you had an experience where you thought you had no skill or ability in some area, and then you started working in that area and you turned out to be pretty capable, and you're quite amazed and you never had that idea? The fact of the matter is we all have that throughout life. My friend Dennis Waitley has this wonderful line. He said, you could not use all of your potential if you had 100 lifetimes. You have so much potential. And what holds us back from using all of our potential is we believe that we don't have it. I will never forget the story of this fellow's grandfather came out, homesteaded a piece of land in Alberta, passed it on to his grandfather, passed it on to his father. The father could never make a living on it. Finally passed on to the son. The son was on welfare and raising goats on this quarter section in Alberta. None of the family for 3 generations had ever made any money on this hard scrabble piece of farm. And along came an oil company. The oil company said, can we drill on your land? If we find oil, we'll sign an extraction agreement with you, royalties and so on. They drilled on his oil. They found an oil pool. And within overnight, he was a millionaire. He had an income of something like $150,000, $200,000 a year for the next 30 years. He went from living a hard scrabble life, raising goats on this lousy piece of land, and somebody else came along and showed him how to get the potential out of the land. The oil had always been there. That's what this seminar does. That's what Harv does, by the way, is he shows you how to drill oil in your own land and tap into the potential that you have. That was always there. It's been there all this time. But your job is to drill. That's really important. And that's what we're here for 3 days, is to look for insights. So remember this. Always ask yourself, you have a self-limiting belief. What if it wasn't true? What if it wasn't true? My son, going back to David, David was really shy when he was growing up. And so I would say, one thing I know about you, David, is you're not afraid of anything. He said, oh, I'm afraid of everything. He's afraid of riding a bicycle, and he's afraid of this. He's afraid of ghosts in the night. No, David, you're not afraid of anything. And I say to Barbara, he said, one thing I know about David, he's not afraid of anything. And he said, yes, I am. We drive along. I say, well, I really admire David because he's not afraid of anything. And I would just say this. And I changed his name to Dave the Brave. And then I shortened it to LeBrave. I say, where's LeBrave? Where's LeBrave? Where is he? How are you doing, LeBrave? I called him that. I started calling him Dave the Brave all the time. And, at a certain point in his life, he started saying, something? I'm not afraid of anything. It changed his whole life. You reprogrammed him to tell him, because other than that, he had a self-limiting belief. And it's really important. Anyway, so your beliefs are important, and your whole attitude toward life is determined by your beliefs. And here's the interesting thing. You come into the world with no beliefs. Every belief that you have, good or bad, you learned from childhood. And most of your self-limiting beliefs, if not all of them, have no basis in reality. Is you have the capacity to do anything, be anything that you want. You could learn any subject. You could become a doctorate in any university. You could memorize, then learn languages. And the more you learn, the more you can learn. The more you use your brain, the more your brain is capable of learning more things. But what holds us back is, so I could never learn languages. Shut up. You could learn languages. I'll tell you what, you went to a foreign country, and the only way you could eat is could learn the language and the words for the food. You'd learn languages at a speed of summer lightning. I know, because I've been there. In other words, the self-limiting beliefs have no reality. So the belief that you have to have programmed in, put in your computer, is that you are going to be a big success in life. And everything that happens is part of this great process. Now, the next law is called the law of expectations. Again, there's libraries of books and years of research on this. Expectations theory, by the way, is the foundation of all economics. It determines the drift of stock markets, the movement of world finances. It determines the investment. Entrepreneurs have high expectations that their entrepreneurial efforts are going to work. We would not start a business without high positive expectations. So expectations have an enormous impact on our attitudes. And here's the interesting thing, is if you believe you're going to be a great success, you expect everything that happens to be part of the great plan. So if you have positive expectations, like a kid's first Christmas, you're positive all the time. And the key to being positive is to look for the good. Expect good things to happen. We say that whatever you expect with confidence becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. Is you are constantly predicting your future by talking about how the way you think things are going to turn out. For example, two types of people could come to this conference. One could say, this is going to be a great conference. We're going to have speakers up there, and much of what they say, well, I've heard before or will not be relevant to me, but each speaker is going to have something that's going to be so powerful it could change my life. And you're sitting here leaning forward, waiting for it. You don't know when it's coming in the time that we have, but you're waiting for it, and your whole attitude is different than a person who says, all right, I'll go with you. But, it's going to be sitting in the hot sun, drinking cheap beer. That kind of same experience, but different expectations. A person who starts a new job and thinks this is the start of a new career is a person who's very different than saying, well, it's just a job, from 9 to 5. Now, the interesting thing is 3 sets of expectations. We could talk about this all day. First of all, the expectations that your parents had of you have an enormous impact on the person you become. And I knew this when I first started to have children, because my parents' expectations of me were negative. They were always critical, always demanding, always negative. No matter what you did, it was never good enough. If you did do anything, it was... does anybody know what I'm talking about here? So I said to myself, well, I am not going to let my experience affect my experience with my children. By gum, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to do with my children. This is what we all resolve to do. I'm going to do with my children exactly the opposite of what my parents did to me. So in the work that was done at Harvard, what they found is that there's 2 keys to raising happy, healthy children. One is positive expectations, which is the parents just basically say, I believe in you. I believe you're going to be a great success. I believe you're going to do well. I believe that you're going to have a great life. And they say, yes, but I got poor grades. And, well, that's not typical of your true performance. You can get better grades next time. And they just kind of keep showering their children like ladling syrup on pancakes. They just keep ladling this syrup of positive expectations on their kids. And what psychologists have found is people rise to the expectations put on them by the people they admire. The higher up a person is in a person's idea, like a parent or an uncle or an aunt, the greater impact their expectations have. The expectations of teachers on students. If teachers treat students like they're really smart, there's years of this called the Pygmalion effect. They'll tell teachers and they'll treat this entire class like they're all Nobel Prize potential winners. And the teachers will treat this class like they're all brilliant, and these kids will just flower. It's been proven over and over again, even though they don't know the IQs. The same thing is with your kids. Same thing is with your spouse. If you're always expecting the best of your spouse, that is the most wonderful, most loving, most life-enhancing thing you can do, is to always expect the best of the members of your family, as opposed to dumping on them or getting mad at them or criticizing them and so on. And so the expectations your parents had of you, and you have to ask, what were they? Because if you're not clear about them, it's hard to free yourself of them. The second is the expectations you have of the people who look up to you. But the third is the expectations you have of yourself. And you should expect the very best of yourself. You should expect to learn something from every experience. You should expect to continue to grow. You should expect to be a big success and be happy and healthy and thin and debt-free and retire with lots of money in the bank. You should expect to learn something from everything that happens. You should just have this confident expectation. You know, W. Clement Stone had this wonderful concept where he talked about being an inverse paranoid. And an inverse paranoid, a paranoid is a person who believes that everybody's out to get him. It's a vast conspiracy. An inverse paranoid is the reverse. He believes that everything out there is part of a vast conspiracy to make you happy and successful. And so whatever happens, he would look at it and say, that's good, and I wonder what it is that I can turn to my benefit to be happy and successful. And as a result, he became one of the richest, most successful people in history, starting off as a penniless orphan boy selling papers on the streets of Chicago at the age of 12 because of this attitude. So expectations are very important. The next law is called the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction is very popular right now. I'm going to come back to it in just a second because it's very popular. All right. The law of attraction says that you are a living magnet. It says that your thoughts, and the law of attraction is tied into 2 or 3 other laws. One is called the law of vibration, which says that your thoughts vibrate at a certain level of energy, and that they attract into your life other thoughts, people, circumstances vibrating at the same level of energy. There's also another law called the law of sympathetic resonance. The law of sympathetic resonance also explains why we're here. It says that if you took 2 pianos on the sides of a large room and you went and you hit the note of C flat on one piano and